Here the trance. Sensorily edible in the seams. Prologues. Has anyone thought about the time after the pandemic and imagined the picture of the city? Of course, the world and life would not be the same. Problematization. Hearts breaking and minds collapsing. This is because of the pandemic crisis, which exacerbates the problem of living in the city, which was already a problem of the mind. Isolation due to the social distancing necessitated by the pandemic. Schizophrenia and nervous breakdowns are increasingly affecting the city dwellers. The crucial question now is, can architecture be a means to help alleviate such a syndrome? And, if so, how? Architecture can serve people with functions and shield them from the external environment in many ways. But the dimension of feeling is mainly about healing it after its long lockdown. How can architecture quench people's emotional thirst? Drawing on some theories. Attempts to cope with this kind of problem are suggested by phenomenological architects and thinkers, such as Stephen Hull. A failure of nerves today represents the collapse of a profession and the withdrawal of an art. Phenomenal experience, worth the fight, is answered without words. The silent response is the joy radiated in light, space and materials of architecture. And architecture goes beyond visual geometries as it also involves the senses of touch, hearing and smell. Architecture, with its silent spatiality and tactile materiality, can reintroduce essential, intrinsic meanings and values to human experience. The visual appearance of architecture is not enough to quench this thirst. The key is to insert oneself into a culture through a visible form of experience and memory. While Hull's ideas relate to the absence of smell, Peter Sumter's experiments in this area go deeper. His projects, such as Bruder Klausfield Chapel and Serpentine Gallery Pavilion, not only question materials and atmosphere in interior design, but also fragrance as part of the design process. Brother Klausfield Chapel brought the scent of burning wooden forms into sacred space. The Serpentine Gallery Pavilion created closure through aromatic spring flowers. However, in the enumeration of the senses, another important sense, taste, was not considered. Carlo Scarpa and Marco Froscari pointed out that architects should taste local food and wine when traveling to see architecture. Froscari had insisted that the proper meal before Sant'Andrea in Mantua should be a homemade tagliatelle al sugo, not a hamburger. Thus, taste is another key perception for remembering places. In this study, taste is linked to the other senses normally addressed by architecture. With this notion, we delved into the space and food and analyzed the hidden dimension of the building type of food architecture because they encompass such a broad experience. So, how can this composition of architectures engage multiple phenomena and sensory experiences than the haptic realm? Cases and reasons of selection. This study deals with the topic of vernacular architecture, and the selected cases include 5 restaurants from different places. The focus of the selection is only on the less prominent shops, and relatively inconspicuous places within a seam. The case studies include: first, Couchair, Mayon, in Petchaburi. Second, Café on Sarpan, in Chonburi. Third, Noodle at the Sea in Petchaburi. Fourth, 2/1 Ari in Bangkok. Fifth, Roti Mat Bar, Khoon Mai, in Jarrow and Crew. Issues found and the finding. Since the selected cases are in hidden, vernacular locations and in these selected cases in a seam, the locations are unavowed and the treatment of form and space is essentially by non-architects, made of homemade materials in a simple and casual fashion. And this genre of building delineates another more humane, unpretentious value compared to any luxury restaurants. In the course of the study, we found 5 interesting essences that appeal to the senses of the users. 1. Sense of place. 2. Approach or threshold in architecture. 3. Sensory vibes, visual, taste, smell, sound, and touch. 4. Aesthetics of imperfection, humaneness, or coziness. 5. Spatial sequences. Even more, the common experience was the ultimate result of the intertwining of the elements, and it draws people into the state of trance, the crescendo of eating in the seams. First, sense of place. It is the result of less formal and unorganized spaces that are more focused on functionality than aesthetic sophistication. Making things with the local resources by indigenous philosophy is respectable beyond the ordinary aesthetic. The sense of place is a bonding of both tangible and intangible sources that create explicit identity. Therefore, the space and perceivable feeling that these architectures create are appealing, even located in such a limited space. The edible space in the seams has a unique essence that is friendly, like the couch chair. Mayon. This sense of place is created both by small alleys in the market that lead to an individual space, and by its location in the heart of the community. The austerity of the environment seems less intimidating. Culturally oriented places such as Roti Mattabah, Kunmai, which focuses on the taste of halal food and the Muslim cultural area. Like Couchair, Mayon, the connection of people, place, food and culture are intertwined. 2/1 Ari, by contrast, is located behind a closed gate and wall. It is almost difficult to enter a local's house in this residential area of Bangkok, but at the same time it is pleasant to enter this shady landscape of local home. It could be a surprising place like Cafe on Sapan in Chonburi, which has appeared on the coastal route. The sense of belonging to the sea is an identity captured not only by sight but also by the sea breeze, smell and feel. The location of Noodle at the sea in Phetchaburi demonstrates the exotic experience, as it is situated right by the sea where seafood noodles are served. The moment we dine at the restaurant, we are drawn into another realm of deception, as if we are in another world. It is the trance, which comes from the enmeshing of individual experiences. Second, approach or threshold in architecture. Like the game of hide and seek and from time to time used as a strategy in architectural design, it would be more surprising if the place was hidden and the visitor set out to discover it. Some of the cases we studied offer such an experience: Couchair, Mayon, and Cafe on Sapan. Cafe on Sapan is located in the middle of the long bridge over Bangsain Sea. Access to the place is only via this bridge and with no other shops or stops on a long journey, and suddenly a shop appears as if it is in the middle of nowhere. This evokes a dense feeling of surprise and hiding. While Cafe on Sapan gives the feeling of suddenly appearing on a long journey, Couchair, Mayon, is more cozy and friendly. The latter shop is located in the middle of a community of commercial row houses. The threshold to the shop is overwhelmed with stories, as visitors walk through an alley flanked by colorful graffiti that relates to the life and people there. Cats are painted as the mascot of this community, and there is a sense of humor as the real cat also hangs around. Quenching the thirst takes much longer than the actual eating that takes place in the shop. Another example is the threshold to 2/1 Ari in Bangkok, which nestles deep into the relatively enclosed wall like a private home. None of the visitors suspect that behind this gate and fence is a fine restaurant. This is a big surprise. Third, sensory vibes, visual taste, smell, sound, and touch. According to Hull, his theory suggests that architecture encompasses multiple phenomena and sensory experiences than the haptic realm. Vernacular stores incorporate phenomena and sensory experiences more sincerely, while in the modern restaurant, the sense of smell is shortchanged when eating. But how can food play a role in architecture? Food invokes memory and associated with architecture, said Foscari. And the place where we eat has a strong psychological influence on the taste and sense of food, and vice versa. An intertwining of experiences by smell, sight, and taste creates a sense of place. This is why restaurants with chef's tables are becoming increasingly popular, because they extend the direct experience of eating through space and time. It elevates the perception to a level with trance. Vernacular restaurants can fantasize the customers in a very similar way but with less formality. Kate McLean, the British graphic designer, as well as Victoria Henshaw, an urban architect, individually researched and created urban maps from data recorded and showed us how we could smell the cities. They described odor's contribution towards not only its invisible but also a sense of place. Roti Mattabah Kunmai is an example of such a trance. The trance is characterized by spatial enclosure, as it is located in a pedestrian street flanked on both sides by row houses. The tables are arranged so that the main traffic passes through them. Customers can smell the roti frying on the pan and the aromas of the curry cooking while also hearing the sound of frying. The experience of dining there combines the multisensory experiences of seeing, touching, tasting, hearing and smelling. While Roti Mat Tabar, Kunmai, stands out for its location, couch air, Mayon offers a subtle combination of the food, the coziness of the space and the taste of the food. The choice of utensils, brass spoons are used to enhance the cool taste when lips and tongue come in contact with the spoon, all of which make for the memorable experience of couch air, a local dish. Fourth, aesthetics of imperfection, comeliness, or coziness. The construct of place, which includes form, space, tectonics, and details, plays an important role in the perception of place. Vernacular architectures were built by non-architects who mostly emphasized functionality, and were decorated unprofessionally, which leads to the pastiche. Despite their somewhat imperfect, comical or naive appearance, they are pleasant and friendly, as they have no pretensions to elegance. For instance, the decoration of couch air, Mayon, is unique. Hundreds of colorful plastic bags are used to wrap light bulbs and arrange them into festive lanterns. Equally human is Café on Sarpan, which features an eclectic design. Different pieces or parts of disparate elements are put together to create a new, pleasing combination. This work draws us into a trance sentiment within an unknown style, entirely in the sense of a shift. Another case that exemplifies the idea of the aesthetic of plainness is 2/1. The design is basically a renovation of a real house. Eating at this restaurant evokes the nostalgic feeling of eating at home, going back home and eating with mom. Fifth, sequences. Sequence is another unique aspect in vernacular restaurants as they construct a shared and continuous perception. It is an ultimate experience that begins with the very idea of coming to the place and continues to the point where the food touches your lips. The sequence combines the sense of place, approach and threshold, sensory vibes, visual, taste, smell, sound, and touch, and the aesthetics of imperfection, humane, or comfort to achieve trance. It contributes to the creation of trance. In conclusion, the intertwining of the elements of space, form, tectonics with food. The elements of food include the smells of food, the sounds of cooking, and the sounds created by people mingling. This combination melds together to create a specific sensory space. The architecture of trance, composed of different perceptions, captivates us, no matter how simple or complex the vision. The mind-healing process creates trance, which is a compromise in space and time.